Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back again for another FPL stream, and it's been a while. I think our last video was actually at the end of May, I believe, 28th of May, when the season ended. We done our final video, so we've gone on a month break. Obviously, we said we wouldn't make as much content, thought we rest and recharge, but we know the season is coming close. I think the game is going to launch actually very soon. I think we're going to hear some news on Monday regarding that. So yeah, we're going to get back into the swing of things, and I'm looking forward to make FPL content again. But yeah, how you doing, Jordan? And yeah, have you enjoyed your break? And then looking forward to FPL 23, 24 this season.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be back in the swing of fantasy football. It's nice to have the break though, but it's also nice to obviously see everyone back as well and making videos for the next season for 23 and 24. It's going to be a very interesting one, I believe, and obviously the big news that will obviously happen on Monday.
Yeah, FPL did tweet out saying something is brewing up on Monday, so we'll have to wait and see. We will be going live on Monday, 7 p.m. as well, guys, so make sure you do stay tuned for that. So this video, we're just going to discuss the fixtures for FPL because obviously there's not much news around right now. The fixture did drop about 2 weeks ago, but we thought, we'd let it kind of simmer and we'll give our thoughts. So here we are. So let's bring up the fixtures for FPL this season. And we will start off. I'm just going to read a few comments out. We've got Dan in the chat who says, "Afternoon, guys. Hope you've both been good." Yeah, afternoon to you, Dan.
Afternoon, Dan.
We've been very well. Hopefully, you guys are all enjoying your summer as well, having a break from football. Chief also says, "Great to see you back." Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the support as always. And Dan also says, "Arsenal and Brighton look good from what I've seen." So yeah, let's break it down actually, and give our thoughts on what we think about the fixtures. Because if I'm being honest, when the fixtures dropped, obviously as a Liverpool fan, I've looked at the Liverpool fixtures, but I've not paid too much attention to the other teams. But we're gonna break it down and let's go and even pick out certain players and that we're looking at, maybe some gems potentially going into that new season. But let's start off with Arsenal. So as you can see, the fixture difficulty rating, very easy, average, challenging, and very challenging. Also, I want to credit Fantasy Football Scout for the brilliant graphics. We have used the image, so hopefully that's okay. So yeah, thanks to Fantasy Football Scout for providing the image. Yeah, Jordan, let's start off with Arsenal. So we know what Arsenal did last season. They did have a very good season. Obviously, disappointing that they couldn't win the league. However, second place finish. Arsenal have actually completed the signing of Declan Rice, which is very close to being confirmed. I think it's just formalities now. They've also officially confirmed Kai Havertz as well, and they look like they could be close to signing Jurrien Timber from Ajax. So Arsenal are busy in the transfer window. The first 6 fixtures on paper is apparently the best according to the fixture difficulty rating. Nottingham Forest at home, Palace away, Fulham at home, Man United at home as well, Everton, and then Tottenham. A lot of blue fixtures, which maybe comes as a surprise because obviously Man United and Tottenham I don't think are going to be easy games. But yeah, let's discuss. So what do you make of Arsenal assets if you look at the first 6, Forest, Palace, Fulham, Man United, Everton, Tottenham, how many Arsenal players are you looking at potentially having at the start in game week 1, and what do you make of the first 6 games?
Well, I think for Arsenal, in terms of how many players I would pick for the first game week, I'll probably go with, I think 2. I think I'll go with 2 Arsenal players just to see how Arsenal sort of behave, obviously in their first fixture against Nottingham Forest at home. I think in terms of first game week fixtures, they are quite unpredictable. There may be high scoring or low scoring, but normally it's a bit of a crazy score in terms of obviously teams and in their first games. But I think Arsenal will kick off really well. Done home fixture against Nottingham Forest, but also with the rest of their fixtures when they have Crystal Palace away in game week 2 and obviously Fulham at home in game week 3, and so on. In terms of the two players I was considering, I think one of them would be I think Saka. I think he'd be
Yeah.
a decent pick to go forward in game week 1. But also, I would be intrigued to see maybe Declan Rice to see
Okay.
how he integrates in the team, because he was a lot of money for Arsenal's obviously to get him in the team.
Hmm.
I think the same price as almost Jack Grealish when he was bought at Man City. But I think Declan Rice will be an interesting signing, obviously to play in Arsenal's team, but also how he also his form with Arsenal.
Yeah.
We've seen him with West Ham; he's great. So it'll be very exciting to see how he does with
Mm.
Arsenal now.
Yeah, looking at it personally, Nottingham Forest at home, you'd expect Arsenal to get the job done with a win. Then Palace again looks quite good. Game week 2, Fulham. So the first three fixtures for me look very nice, and I personally think we will have maybe two, maybe even three Arsenal players in our match day 1 squad. I think three could be a bit maybe overkill, but I think two definitely. Um, and yeah, I think the fixtures look nice, and I'm looking at people like I think it depends on the pricing structure, because obviously Arsenal players were slightly cheap last season. I think that's gonna turn. It's gonna change this season. Obviously, we know what they did last season. Players like Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka, I expect them to be a lot more expensive because of the season they had. So it's gonna be interesting to see what price we're looking at. Saka could be somewhere like 9 million. I wouldn't be surprised to see him around that 8.5, 9 million mark. Odegaard could be 8.5. I do expect quite big price rises for some of their players, and maybe that will make it a bit more challenging to fit the Arsenal players in, where we have to look at bargains. Because if you remember last season in preseason, we were looking at uh, where were the bargains, and I think Marcus Rashford was one of the players we looked at last season, because if you remember, he had a very poor 21-22 season, and he got a big price drop from 9 million to around 6.5. And a lot of us looked at Rashford, and then obviously Rashford bounced back again this season. So maybe we don't look at the Arsenal players, and we look at players who had a poor season and that we can see bounce back. And we will come on to that. Players that we look for, players that have gone down in price where we could look to bring in. But Arsenal, definitely, I do like their fixtures, and Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Jesus, they're all going to be popular picks, I think. But it's hard to say right now with the without knowing the prices. We'll come back to Arsenal in a sec. Let's quickly discuss Man City as well, because Man City have actually purchased Kovacic from Chelsea. They are closely linked to Josko Guardiola as well, a centre back from Leipzig. They could be close to completing that. We'll have to see what other business Man City do. They are a formidable team. I think I definitely will be having at least, Haaland. We're going to speak about Haaland. Obviously, 36 Premier League goals last season. He's pretty much 100% locked, I think, in our match day 1 teams. And let me know if anyone else doesn't agree with that. But Burnley, Newcastle, Sheffield, Fulham, West Ham, and Forest. So yeah, the City fixtures look very nice. Haaland is a lock, I think, and then maybe a Man City defender to cover some clean sheets. Obviously, last season it was a bit frustrating owning a Man City defender, especially Edison. But the fixtures look nice. Would you agree, Jordan? And obviously, City coming off the back of a treble. We do expect City to go on potentially and win the title again. They are the best team in the league. Where do you see, in terms of Man City for the first 6? How many should we be targeting? Are you confident City will do what they usually do and blitz the league?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see much difference to what Man City did. Obviously, in the season they just had winning the title, and obviously beforehand their form, despite players leaving the team like Cancelo, but have been easily replaced by players like Akanji,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously these type of defenders, they seem to have slotted in really well. So I'm probably going to say 3 Man City players. I think they are against 2 newly promoted teams like Burnley in game week 1, and obviously Sheffield United in game week 3. So you can expect those 2 fixtures to be high scoring for Man City to kick off there. Obviously, the start of the season really well, and obviously Newcastle at home maybe a bit more of an average challenge, obviously, to win that game. But I think they can still get something from that, obviously, to get a strong start. And the rest of the fixtures for Man City, obviously, they're very easy, um, about easy as well for Man City. I
Mm,
think you can see pretty much a win in there, in out of six there. I don't see really. Only
yeah,
trouble I see is Newcastle. The rest of the teams there, I don't think will have any effect on Man City. In terms of players, though, obviously Haaland is a must. If you don't have Haaland in game week 1, then that's really a massive risk. Obviously, we're talking about defenders, um, well, or goalkeeper if you want to go Edison. If you think he's going to have a better season, like he compared to what this season where he didn't get many clean sheets, but maybe it picks it up for obviously this season coming up. As a third, potentially you could go risky with a midfielder, maybe
you
De
know,
Bruyne.
you know who excites me as a Man City option that maybe people won't be looking at. Um, Obviously, we saw back end of last season Kevin De Bruyne, especially in the Champions League final, getting injured, and we saw Phil Foden come on and slot in. And with Gundogan leaving, obviously Gundogan's gone to Barcelona, that's confirmed. Kevin De Bruyne coming, I don't want to say he's coming to the end of his career, but he's now 32. He's going to be rotated out a lot more, and I think Phil Foden might be a bit of a breakout season for him where he plays a lot more minutes. So Phil Foden is one that I'm looking at playing down the middle. With Gundogan now gone, I think he could be an interesting asset to own, maybe a differential. I don't know how many people will be looking at Phil Foden, but I'm gonna have my close eye on Phil Foden in preseason to see what Pep does with him. Does he play more minutes? So he's one that I'm looking at. And with Burnley, Sheffield, Fulham, Forest as well in the first six, it could pay dividends going different. Someone like Foden. We have to wait and see if City do more business. They could be bringing in a few more players, but yeah, City. We know they are the best team in the league. You'd want you know double, triple up for sure on their players. Chelsea is an interesting team. According to this fixture tracker, they have the third best fixtures. Uh, they do have Liverpool in game week 1, and that's seen as an average fixture for them. So I don't like that fixture, even as a Liverpool fan. Chelsea Liverpool, I think that could be one of those low scoring games. It could even be a 0-0. Um, so that game week 1, I'm not sure. However, after that, they've got West Ham, Luton, Forest, Bournemouth, and Villa. So from game week 3 to 5, really, they've got 3 teams in there that looks very nice on paper. Luton and Forest, 2 home games back to back against obviously lower opposition. So that does look enticing. However, Chelsea are a team that is we don't know what they're going to play like because again, they've got a new manager. Pochettino is now in charge. Chelsea have sold a lot of players. Obviously, Mason Mount's gone to Man United. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has gone to AC Milan. There's going to be some flux. Nkunku's coming in. I think they've signed Martinez. So I think that's his name, Martinez from Villarreal. The striker. Sorry if I got his name wrong. And Chelsea are expected to sign another player, probably another striker, maybe a goalkeeper as well. So Chelsea are an interesting team. I think preseason is important for Chelsea to see what Pochettino likes to play, what players he's going to play. But I think Chelsea, maybe whisper it quietly, I think they could be an interesting team this season because I still think they've got a talented squad. They just need the right manager and maybe 1 or 2 more players to get the best out of them. But it's going to be interesting to see what Chelsea do. Do they bounce back and have a decent season, or we know what they did last season when they finished, was it 10th? So what do you make of Chelsea? Obviously, Jordan, we don't really know as of now. I think
Yeah.
they're a weird team to you don't know what you're going to get with them.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, their season they had just now gone. It was a total miss from Chelsea, and it looked very dire for them. I think they were glad the season had ended. In terms of this season coming up, honestly, I think personally for me it's a wait and see. I don't think I'll have any Chelsea players in my team starting off the season because it's so unpredictable of what we're actually going to get from Chelsea. I know they've got rid of players like Mason Mount, who's gone to Man United. Kai Havertz, he's gone to Arsenal, which is a very interesting transfer. And they are offloading players, so there's less of a bulky squad to manage, obviously. So it is a good sign. Chelsea will bounce back. It just, I think, needs time. I think more time needed for them to bounce back. They're just
Mm,
in the process of getting rid of players now. And obviously, they want to structure around a starting 11, which is going to be more effective and more like molded together, where they can work together more better than what we saw last season. So I think personally for me, even though their fixtures are the third best in terms of this difficulty rating, I still think I'll be avoiding any Chelsea players despite the fixtures.
hmm. Okay, fair enough. For me, I think it's going to be hard for me to fit a Chelsea player in, unless I'll keep an eye out on preseason. If I see something really good in preseason, I could take a punt. Obviously, Nkunku is an interesting player, a player I do like. Obviously, he's moved to Chelsea now. He used to play for RB Leipzig, a very good, talented player. So we'll have to see how he does and how he settles into the Premier League. But I think they are a wait and see for us. And yeah, we'll take it from there. Also, injury-prone wing-backs, says Fatality. Obviously, in regards to Reece James and Chilwell, I think they are very good
Yeah,
players, but we know they do have issues, and it's always the case with those two wing-backs. But maybe they do get a price decrease. I expect them players to come down in price, and maybe they can become a bit of a bargain if you can jump on early. Who knows? Moving on to I mean, we're not going to discuss Luton too much because obviously, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not watched so much of Luton. I don't know as much about their team. However, they are a newly promoted team. I don't expect us to have any new Luton players. If we're being honest, I know the fixtures look okay. There are a lot of easy fixtures, but you know they are a newly promoted team. I don't think I'd be having any of their players in game week 1. So we're going to move on. We're going to mainly focus, I think, on more of the top 6 teams. However, we've got to discuss Brentford as well, Tottenham, Fulham, Palace, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Everton. Are you looking at any Brentford players, Jordan? Game week 1, again, it's hard to tell really without knowing prices and stuff, how many we could fit in.
yeah, there is one player in particular that I'm keeping my eye on, and this is solely because of what happened with Ivan Toney for his suspension. That player is in Buemo, and I think he'll be very interesting to have in your team at the beginning, obviously, of this season, because with Tony being out for, is it 6 months? 6 month ban?
Yeah, he's out for a while. He's going to miss a few
Yeah.
months at the start of the new season.
Yeah, with that in mind, in Bremo comes a massive player to obviously, I think, bring into your team at the start of the season, because not many people actually, I think Bremo would be underlooked, if I'm honest, at the start of the season. But I think you have a massive, great form, I think, against these teams. Like, even though Tottenham is their first fixture, we've seen Tottenham obviously concede a lot of goals last season, and obviously they will bounce back as well. Another team that will bounce back, but I expect Brentford to obviously score a lot of goals, and obviously Tottenham is one of those games where it could be a high scoring game, and Mbeumo can get involved in that.
Mm.
Obviously, with Tony being out, Mbeumo becomes that position where he normally plays in as well. So yeah, in terms of Brentford players, I think Mbeumo sticks out for me. I also like Ben Mee as a defender option as well, or Raya uh, as a
I,
goal.
I think Ray is expected to leave,
Oh,
which,
is it?
yeah, that's going to be a big miss potentially for Ray. I know he's been linked to Man United and other clubs. I know Spurs just bought a new goalie, so we'll have to see. But Leo is good. Thinks Mbuemo will be popular. I mean, looking at the fixtures, Fulham, Palace, and Bournemouth from game 2 to 4 looks quite nice. So yeah, maybe he is a sleeper. But we'll have to see in regards to that. But yeah, it's a good shout, Jordan. Mbuemo. Moving on to Brighton, who have been brilliant. Last season, obviously finishing, was it 6th in the end? Um,
Yeah.
they will be playing Europa League football, so we'll have to see how they manage the demands of that, playing midweek. However, a lot of their players, they have lost McAllister to Liverpool, which is a big miss. They are potentially going to lose Moises Caicedo as well to Chelsea, so that's 2 big players potentially that Brighton will have to replace. However, their scouting is brilliant. We expect them to, replace the players. But they've got Luton game week 1. Wolves, West Ham, Newcastle, Man United looks a bit more tricky than Bournemouth as well. They do have some really good players. I think Enciso is another player. If he's a midfielder, says Fatality, that we should be looking at, because uh, we know Brighton are brilliant at replacing and recruiting young talent from South America. Estupinian, March, and Ciso. I am expecting quite a decent price rise for a lot of these players. But where do you see yourself, Jordan, with Brighton? Do you think they can, replicate the success of last season, or do you think this will be a season where maybe with balancing playing midweek in Europa League will get the demands, it will be tough for them? Or do you think, you're expecting them a decent season from their players?
Yeah, I still expect an average season from Brighton, even though they finished sixth in this season. With their manager Zerbi, he's quite a determined manager. Like, he wants to get results from his team, and he always pushes the team to obviously win matches and score lots of goals. And I think with his attitude towards the team and his players, he's got a good chemistry between them. And I think Brighton players, in terms of who we've spoken about, like Estupinian, Barch, and Ciso, even in Toma as well, massive player that a lot of people have in the starting of their team, especially with the first fixture, which is Luton at home. That's going to be a massive one for Brighton. And yeah, potentially 2 or 3 players you could have for this, obviously, start, because Brighton do have decent fixtures along the line of the 6. And yeah, obviously these players, there's a lot of players to choose from for Brighton. I think we're spoiled for choice, and I think any one of those players that we pick is obviously going to do well. I'd just like to mention another player that's a differential, and that is Ferguson, the young forward. He could be a potential game changer with the team, considering 2 Brighton key players have left. So it will be interesting to see who Serbi plays. I do expect rotation like he did in last season between players. So yeah, there's a lot of options that you can go for Brighton.
Yeah, obviously Moises Caicedo isn't confirmed yet. He's still a Brighton player, but if he does leave to Chelsea as we expect, as well as McAllister going to Liverpool, I think they are 2 big misses. However, Brighton, I'll expect them to recruit correctly and still have a really good team. Let's move on to Liverpool next. Liverpool have Chelsea on the opening day, and that is away. Liverpool have actually requested to the Premier League to play the opening fixture away from home due to their stadium still being under work and won't be finished for the game week 1. So Liverpool's first home game is actually in game week 2 against Bournemouth. Then they've got Newcastle away, which could be a tough game. Villa, Wolves, and Sheffield. Liverpool have actually just signed Dominic Szoboszlai from RB Leipzig. That was confirmed by Fabrizio yesterday. He's having his medical today, I believe. Liverpool have also signed McAllister from Brighton. We know Liverpool struggles last season, especially in that midfield zone. However, they have just gone and signed 2 top players, in my opinion, in Szoboszlai and McAllister. Where do you see Liverpool this season, Jordan? We are expecting Liverpool to do more business. Maybe another midfielder, another defender to come in as well. Chelsea, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Villa, Wolves, Sheffield. Sorry, West Ham, not Sheffield.
Yeah, I do expect Liverpool to have a better season, I think, especially with the recruitment in the midfield. Because personally, I think their attack is ridiculous. Like, it's so good. I think really their midfield lets them down a bit. And obviously the defence is pretty good as well. Yeah, but with these new signings, like obviously McAllister, that's a massive one in terms of the midfield for Liverpool. That's going to improve the overall performance. And I think, yeah, in terms of the fixtures, I think Liverpool have a great run of the first 6, with Chelsea being away. We don't know what we're going to get from Chelsea, obviously, that we've spoken about. So that's a good start, say, for Liverpool, even though it's an away fixture. Then you've got Bournemouth at home, which is at Anfield. We all know how teams play at Anfield. It's really hard to win or even get a draw there. So you can almost say that's a win for Liverpool, despite them losing to Bournemouth last season. Obviously, Newcastle, that's going to be a challenging one. Very exciting one to watch, I'd say. And then Aston Villa at home, another fixture where you think Liverpool obviously get a win at Anfield. Wolves away, another good fixture. And then obviously West Ham at home. So you can say from Liverpool's home fixtures, they're going to do pretty well in those. And obviously, Salah maybe on the table. Maybe you see a
Mhm.
captaincy option for him as well between there. And obviously, in the defence, you might have Trent. He might be cheaper in terms of next season as well because his performance did dip a bit. And yeah, there's other such options up front too to go for, like Darwin Nunes.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm gonna put it out there. There's already two Liverpool players locked in my game week one team, barring injury. I will have two players in my team, and that is Salah. He's locked no matter what, and Trent is also locked in my team. Just some early team news: Salah and Trent will be in my game week one team no matter what. I think Salah could get a price decrease, slight one. I think possibly maybe 12.5. Trent, I'm not sure because we know the start of the season, he did struggle a lot. However, back end of last season, he racked up assists and goals, and he ended up actually with more assists and goals, I believe, than Trippier. So Trent in that new inverted role, it looks like Liverpool are going to stick with that new inverted role. So Trent could be a really good option. So we'll have to wait and see in preseason as well what Liverpool do, especially with the new midfielders coming in. But I think obviously Salah, we know, is always a top pick. Um, so yeah, I think those two are the ones we'll be looking at. You know, Dan also says about Luis Diaz is the one he's gone with up until now. You don't know whether I can start with that Salah though. Yeah, obviously Luis Diaz is back from injury. You know, he did miss 5 months out last season, and he's a big blow. Obviously, when he signed for Liverpool, he had that big impact initially, and then I think he's a big miss. Jota again, another top player that is important, should I say, for Liverpool. He missed large parts of last season as well. So Liverpool do have options up there, as well as Gakpo, who not really mentioned. So yeah, as you did say, Liverpool are stacked in that forward area, and it's just about seeing, I think, how they play in preseason with that new midfield, that rebuild pretty much. So yeah, Liverpool are interesting to watch, and I think um, I will at least have two assets, I think, for in my team. Moving on to Everton, I don't know if I'm going to have any Everton players in my team. I think they didn't really impress me much last season. They have got decent fixtures, Fulham, Villa, Wolves, Sheffield, Arsenal, and Brentford. If I'm being honest, I'm not really looking at anyone from Everton in my match day one team, unless if the chat let us know if you guys are. What about you, Jordan? Are you looking at anyone from Everton, or you know?
No, not particularly. I mean, this is 2 seasons in a row now where Everton have almost been relegated and struggled. Well, have just about pulled it off to
Yeah.
stay in the Premier League. The only player I'd probably say that people may go for is maybe the goalkeeper. Maybe Pickford becomes like a second goalkeeper pick or maybe a first goalkeeper pick. But honestly, apart from Pickford, I don't think I'll be looking at any Everton player really.
Mhm. Crystal Palace do have Sheffield opening day. They also have Arsenal, Brentford, Wolves, Villa, and Fulham. So Crystal Palace's fixtures look decent. I'd say it's mid. It's not too hard, not too easy. There are a few players I do like at Palace. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Eberici Eze. I think Eze is a great player. I don't know what his price is going to be, but he could be a decent punt. I also like Michael Elise. I think he's a really good player as well. So those are the two I'll be looking at potentially if they're cheap enough to fit in as a fifth midfielder, to take a punt, against Sheffield or someone like that. Arsenal and Brentford doesn't look great, but if you want to take a punt on someone like that, as Elise, those two, they are really talented players, and those two, I think, I'd be looking at. Would you agree, Jordan, or is there anyone else that you like at Palace?
Apart from those two, there is Mateta. I think he's pretty decent as well. And obviously, the obvious one is Zaha, even though he did get a bit of injuries and whatnot.
He's out of contract though, isn't he? So he could be actually leaving Palace. I don't know if anything's been confirmed about Zaha leaving Palace. So let us know in the chat, guys. Is he going to agree a new deal? 'Cause as far as I'm aware, he's out of contract, which is massive. He's probably the best player.
Yeah, it would be interesting if he doesn't sign a new contract. Then Mateta and Elise, these players become very popular options as differentials potentially, as they may be underlooked players too. But
Mhm.
I'll probably only have one Crystal Palace player, I think, if I was to pick from the fixtures they have.
Yeah, Dan also confirming looks like Zaha will leave in a 3 years. Yeah, as far as I was, it looks like Zaha could be leaving. Um, Man United is next up. Your team, Jordan.
Oh
Man
yeah,
United have actually just signed Mason Mount from Chelsea. Um, so yeah, the Man United have Wolves. I think on the opening day. I think that is a Monday night fixture against Wolves, and then they've got Tottenham away. They've got Forest at home, then Arsenal, then Brighton, and then Burnley. So I think it's up and down fixtures. I think Arsenal and Brighton could be tougher games. Forest looks good at home. Wolves could be a nice opening game for Man United. Tottenham away, we don't know how Tottenham are going to do. We will come on to Tottenham in a sec, but yeah, Man United haven't maybe done as much business as we thought, but they are actually interested in Onana from Inter Milan, the goalkeeper. It looks like David Gea will be leaving Man United, and it looks like they're going to be bringing a goalie in. Also, I think it's pivotal Manchester United sign a striker. I think Weghorst is going. Martial, I'm not sure what's the situation with him, but what do you make of Man United's fixtures, Jordan, in the opening six?
I think they're not so bad. A bit up and down. I mean, Arsenal, I say, is probably the hardest one they've got out of the six there. But in terms of fixtures, I don't think they're too bad. I am excited to see Ten Hag in his first full season to see what he does with the team, and obviously made that massive signing with Mason Mount in the midfield just to bolster it a bit. As I feel like only Bruno Fernandes has been the best, I'll say, midfielder for Man United. That's been really there at that level. And I think Mason Mount can potentially be at the same level as Bruno, despite him not having a great season. He had that Chelsea in the past 2 seasons, but I think he'll do well. I think at Man United, I think it's a decent signing that Man United done. In terms of other players, I'm looking out for us potentially as Rashford. I think he'll still be a decent player to have, and
I think he's going to get a decent price rise though. Rashford, he's not going to be 6.5 anymore after his goals last season. So it's going to be interesting
yeah,
to see what his price is.
yeah, I think he might be maybe 8 million or 7.5 around that price. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes, he's my favourite player. Yeah, he could be potentially an option depending on what his price is, because I don't know whether his price will go up or down or stay the same.
Mm.
But yeah, they're the kind of players I'm interested in. Obviously, defenders wise, Luke Shaw, he's another option in terms of defence to go for, as he is an attacking one if he isn't playing obviously in centre back position.
Yeah, obviously a lot can change if Manchester United go out and sign a top striker. So the transfer window is still open. Obviously, teams are going to make more moves, so we'll have to wait and see. If Man United sign a big striker, then maybe the first three against Wolves and Forest become really nice options. But at the moment, I can't see myself having an attacking Man United player. I might include someone like a Luke Shaw in the team to, instead of to cover some clean sheets, could be decent. But yeah, I think with Man United, I think let's see what attacking players they do buy, because obviously Rashford is there, but again, it is price dependent. Tottenham, moving on to them. Obviously, they've got a new manager. Postacoglu, I think that's how you say his name, is now the new Spurs manager. Spurs have actually been a bit busy in the transfer window. They have signed James Maddison for 40 million from Leicester, which I think is very good business. They've also signed that new goalie. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. They've purchased a new goalie. Lloris is being replaced. So it also looks like Harry Kane will be staying at Spurs, which is massive news if you're a Spurs fan, because we thought he would be going to someone like Man United, which doesn't look like it's going to happen now. So it's vital for Spurs they keep hold of him for another year. Obviously, Maddison, we know, is a good player. I think Spurs could be an interesting team, especially with Postecoglou now coming in. He's actually a very attacking manager compared to someone like what Spurs have been used to in recent years. And I think it's a good move for Spurs getting a manager like that in, that will play attacking football and on the front foot, and hopefully you can see more goals. There is one player I want to talk about in regards to Spurs, and that is actually Son. We know Son had a poor season last year. We know he had injury issues, and obviously that affected his performances, as he actually came out and said himself he was playing with injections, I think. With the new formation, or sorry, with the new style of play, etc., we expect a more attacking Spurs. New manager, James Maddison coming in. Obviously, Son is going to get a big price drop. I think that's fair to say. Compared to what he was, I think he was 11 million or something was in last season.
Yeah,
So
11.5, I think.
could he be the new Rashford of last season, where Rashford gets a big price drop because of his season, then he bounces back? I think could he be that sort of player? It's one to keep an eye out on. I think Son. Where do you see Tottenham? Obviously, fixtures don't look too bad. Man United game week 2, but other than that, obviously Arsenal as well. Fixtures are a bit decent, and even James Madison. How do you see Spurs uh, going this season?
Yeah, I think they definitely have a massive bounce back. I think for Spurs, they did have a really bad, obviously, season, and basically Harry Kane carried them pretty much the whole season. So I do expect a massive bounce back for them. Obviously, from players like Son that we've spoken about, where he had a poor season, but I could see him getting back on the score sheet as well, with in terms of goals and assists, and obviously because Harry Kane and Son do work well together when they're both on top of their form. James Madison as well is a very nice signing for obviously Tottenham, especially in that midfield. It's going to be interesting how Tottenham do in this season, because you could go at some point in the season go with triple Spurs, depending on how well they integrate with this new manager underneath them. So yeah, it is going to be quite interesting, Madison as an option, because his price will also, I think, be cheap considering how Leicester's season did go. So yeah, there is plenty of options. I think Harry Kane is going to be a popular one though, despite but the rest of the players, because he did have his best season, I think, last, despite Spurs not having the greatest one. So yeah, I think in terms of Tottenham players, I think I could possibly go for one, and I think that would obviously be Harry Kane. It would be hard to not put Harry Kane in your team when you saw what he did last season.
Mm. Yeah, with Harry Kane, obviously, is going to be highly owned. We think game week 1. Um, Moving on to Burnley, actually. Burnley, newly promoted team under the tutelage of Vincent Company now. They have Man City game week 1, which, I think that's fair to say they won't win that game. So we'll probably avoid Burnley players in general. But after that, Luton, Villa, Tottenham, Forest, United. Fixtures don't look too great, if I'm being honest. Luton looks decent on game week 2. I think Burnley are a wait and see. You know, you know, game week 1, you don't really want to have too many newly promoted teams, as we don't know how well they'll do. But they could play some exciting football, Burnley. But I think for Burnley, it'll be just about staying in the league and securing Premier League survival. Really, for them, that's what I think the season will be about. But yeah, we'll have to see what business they do as well. Moving on to Wolves. I'm not sure Wolves have done much business. Let us know in the chat if they have. I don't think they have actually signed the player yet. Not anyone. Obviously, they've lost their captain, haven't they? Ruben Neves has gone to Saudi, so that could be a big loss for Wolves. Obviously, Ruben Neves is a one of their better players. I don't think I'll be going for any Wolves assets. I know there was a Pedro Neto bandwagon start of last season. I remember a lot of us had Pedro Neto in our team, and that didn't work out. So for me, I think Wolves, I'm not really looking at what they're gonna start with. United at game week 1 doesn't appeal to me much. What about you, Jordan? Have you given it much thought about bringing in a Wolves asset?
No, definitely, probably not. I think in terms of Wolves, I probably have bench options that are cheap, maybe a defender, but no, I'm not looking really at any Wolves players to have in my team. Not at least not in the starting team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we'll move on swiftly to Villa. Now, Villa started the season off very poorly under Steven Gerrard, as we know. Gerrard got sacked, Emery came in and went on that brilliant run, and they have secured European football, I believe. They will be playing Conference League football, which is a big improvement, from where they were at the start with Gerrard. They have also made 2 very good signings, Aston Villa. They have signed Tielemans on a free from Leicester, obviously after becoming a free agent, and they've also signed Pau Torres from Villarreal, I believe, who is a very good centre back. So that's going to improve Aston Villa under Emery again. I expect them to put up a really good fight for European football again, and I think they're an interesting team. Watkins went on that big scoring run near the end of the season. I think they are a good team, and Pau Torres and Tielemans, I think, are good signings for Villa. And one to watch: Newcastle, Everton, Burnley, Liverpool, Palace, Chelsea. I think you could have You could be looking at having one Aston Villa player, maybe someone like a Tielemans if his price is cheap. Watkins could be an interesting pick with Everton and Burnley in the first three fixtures. What do you reckon of Emery, Jordan? He's done a brilliant job, hasn't he? And are you looking at Villa yourself, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm taking a little glimmer to Aston Villa players because their fixtures are not that bad. I mean, with after Newcastle, got Everton, decent, Burnley, then Liverpool a bit more difficult, Crystal Palace and Chelsea. I think they're right fixtures. I think for them, you could go with one attacker and one defender because I do like Tyrone Mings. I did have him in my team last season and he did score a goal. And Aston Villa did keep a few clean sheets at the beginning of the season and throughout. So yeah, I'll be looking at defensive options. I think for Aston Villa as one, and maybe an attacking option like obviously Ollie Watkins because he did have a decent season as well, scoring lots of goals. And yeah, I think two or one player. I think for my team from Aston Villa, despite the fixtures, they may be put off by people, but I quite like the fixtures Aston Villa do have because Emery is a very good manager and he did do well last season coming in after Steven Gerrard.
Fulham, there's not much to say about Fulham, really. I think Mitrovic is the one, again, that we could be looking at. I think Mitrovic could be a good pick. Obviously, he's now back after that big ban he had. Everton, Brentford in the first two looks decent. Arsenal, Man City back to back will be an avoid, I think. Luton and Palace as well after that. I think apart from Mitrovic, I'm not really keen on the other assets. You could go Andres Pereira, but again, it depends on the price. If he's another cheap midfielder, I don't think he will be. Probably get a little price rise. Again, Bournemouth, we can cover them quickly. West Ham, Liverpool, Tottenham, Brentford, Chelsea, Brighton for them in the first six. I think Dominic Solanke, again, could be one that we go for the cheap striker. Who else is there? Obviously,
Billing.
sorry, what's his name? I forgot his name. Where he scored, you had him in, and he scored that goal, didn't he, in your team?
Oh,
Morgan Gibbs White.
Morgan Gibbs White, yeah.
Yeah, Gibbs White could be a decent option. Then again, fixtures don't look too great for Bournemouth. Liverpool, Tottenham, Brentford, Chelsea, and Brighton. I think I'd probably avoid Bournemouth and for the first six. I don't think I'd have any of their players, if I'm being honest. Sheffield, again, newly promoted. I think I'll be looking to avoid them. They've got Man City in there, Tottenham, Newcastle, all in the first six games. So I think they're an easy avoid. I think we've got to speak about Newcastle, however. Obviously, they are back in the big time in the Champions League. They've just also signed Sandro Tonali from AC Milan for £60 million, I believe, which looks like an exciting signing for Newcastle. They've got Villa on the opening day. And after that, they've got City, Liverpool, and Brighton, which isn't the easiest of fixtures, if I'm being honest. Brentford even isn't easy. So will you be having Newcastle assets? If you just look at their fixtures, I don't think they look that easy, especially with the fixture difficulty. They have the third worst according to this chart. So what do you make of Newcastle?
It's difficult to judge it on fixtures though, Newcastle, because they did have a massive season, and because of their form they had last season, it's hard to really turn your head and not go with any Newcastle players, because even though their fixtures are difficult in places, especially Man City, Liverpool, being say the hardest ones to have, I'll probably still want maybe at least one player in from Newcastle, I think. But it's hard to go with whether it's an attack or defender, because you obviously got Trippier. Can he still have the same or similar season he just had, or do we see a drop off from Trippier from the start? So, and there's also Callum Wilson and Isak. Both do have rotation issues, obviously, but sometimes they do play together in the attack. And then obviously in the midfield, you've got Amaron, Bruno Gomes, and these type of players as well. But I think because of the fixtures, though, I'll probably go with one, and that's probably Trippier. Just to see what he does, I think, at the start of the season, whether he can, obviously, in Newcastle, how well they do defensively, because obviously it is difficult, a massive test for them at the start, they don't have the easy start either. In terms of other teams that have better starts against teams that are much more easier.
Hmm. Yeah, I think Newcastle for me, I don't see many clean sheets in that first six. I could be wrong. Their defense was quite impressive last season, especially at home. But City, Liverpool, Brighton, I could all see them scoring goals. So we'll have to wait and see. Let us know what your thoughts are, guys, on the teams. We'll read a few comments out that we've missed. NH1999 says Spurs attackers will be good picks this season with Angie in charge. Um, yeah, I think Spurs could be an interesting team. We expect more attacking football from Spurs this season. Um, Moving on to West Ham. Obviously, West Ham looks like they are losing Declan Rice to Arsenal, which is obviously a big loss for them and their captain. They have signed, which I don't know who they've signed, but I think they are close to signing a Rice replacement. We'll have to wait and see who that is. Um, they have Bournemouth, Chelsea, Brighton, Luton, City, Liverpool in that first six. Again, um, who does really stand out for West Ham at this moment in time? There's players like Ben Rama you could take a punt on. Antonio, if he's still there. I don't know if I'd be having either of them in my Game Week 1 team. They could be a decent punt. You never know. But for me, I think it is an avoid. I don't know how. I don't know what to expect from West Ham. They were quite poor last season, I think, in the league, especially. Obviously, they did win the Conference League. But I think I'm going to wait and see what type of signings they make, how they replace Rice, because obviously that will be a big loss for them as well. But yeah, the fixtures don't look too great. So I think I won't be having many of their players, if any at all, in that Game Week 1 squad. And then finally, sorry, when I said Gibbs White, I don't know why I said for Bournemouth. I meant for Forest. Obviously, Gibbs White and Brennan Johnson. Yeah, I mixed up the teams. Forest, sorry, yeah, Gibbs White playing for Forest. Game Week 1, they've got Arsenal, and then Sheffield, Manchester United, Chelsea, Burnley, and then Man City. So again, they probably have the worst fixtures in terms of the opening six, with 3 of the top 4 in the first 6, and Chelsea, and 2 promoted teams. So I'm not looking at any Nottingham Forest player. There is someone like obviously Brennan Johnson and Gibbs White, as we mentioned. There's also what's the striker's name? The striker up front that used to play for Liverpool.
It's going to be T, doesn't it?
Awani. Yeah, Taiwo Awani. Awani went on a bit of a scoring run, didn't he? Near the end of the season, we start scoring quite a lot of goals. So he could be interesting if he's still cheap enough. But again, I'd be avoiding their players probably for the first 6, because 3 of the top 4 look quite difficult. So yeah, I hope that is a decent little chat, guys, in terms of the first 6 fixtures for the first for the full Premier League season. That's what our thoughts are initially of the first 6. I think Arsenal, Man City, we're looking at having their players, maybe a couple of Liverpool, maybe a Man United player in there. Chelsea could be an interesting punt. Tottenham, again, and it could include one of their players for a punt. I think we'll still be targeting the top 6, top 8 teams generally, because we expect them to be, more likely of winning games, really. And then maybe avoiding the newly promoted teams, because they do have tougher starts. But yeah, that's probably been a little roundup of the best and the worst fixtures of the FPL 23-24 season in terms of the first 6. Let us know your thoughts, guys, on the comments below. If you have enjoyed the content, please make sure you do smash the like button. Really appreciate everyone that takes their time to drop a like, and also drop a comment, as it helps the channel out massively. It's a big season for us. Again, we're going to start making content for the whole season, so make sure you guys are subscribed so don't miss out. There's a lot to come. We're going to make a lot of new style videos. There's going to be new graphics. There's going to be new templates. Everything is going to change. So yeah, make sure you do stay tuned to the FPL Duo YouTube channel, as we've got a lot to come. This has been it from us too. I think we are going to be back again on Monday to discuss FPL. Whatever drops. There is something dropping on Monday. We don't know exactly what it is, but there could be new rule changes, etc. So make sure you do tune in for that. But yeah, I think we are going to wrap it up here. It's been a nice stream to get back into thinking about FPL now. or the game expected to launch soon. We're also going to have a draft video out. Me and Jordan will do our first draft, what we're looking at heading into game week 1. So make sure you do stay tuned, as there is a lot to come. Also want to thank all the new subscribers and everyone who's been with us since day 1. And hopefully we have a good season. Anything else you want to add, Jordan, before we do wrap it up?
It's just nice to see everyone back here, obviously in the chat. Thanks for watching, guys. It's nice to be obviously returning to making these videos after the long break. And obviously we'll see you Monday on whatever FPL do release. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you Monday.
Yep. See you guys Monday for the stream. Stay subscribed. Make sure you like as well. And thank you guys for watching.